It started with something so small you wouldn't think it could change a life. A toy, just a worn-out little blue rabbit dangling from a toddler's hand in the middle of a crowded airport. Claire Thompson, 29, single mom running on caffeine, and Hope had her eyes on the departure board when it slipped. She didn't even notice until she heard the soft thud, and by then, a man in polished shoes had already kicked it halfway across the terminal. "Excuse me, wait. That's my son's," Claire stammered, but the guy barely looked up. He muttered something about being late for a flight and brushed past her. Her heart sank. That rabbit Bun Bun wasn't just a toy. It was the only thing her little boy Ethan would fall asleep with, the last gift his father had ever given him before disappearing from their lives. Claire set the stroller brake and dropped to her knees, crawling between seats, scanning under benches, desperate. Nothing. Her chest tightened. If Ethan woke up and realized Bun Bun was gone, she'd have a meltdown on her hands. And worse, she'd feel like she'd failed him again. Across the concourse, another man bent down picking something up near the water fountain. He was tall, mid-30s, suit sharp enough to belong on the cover of Forbes. Daniel Brooks, CEO of a cybersecurity company. To him it was just a toy at first glance until he flipped it over and read the handwritten tag sewn into its seam. Ethan Thompson. The name stopped him cold. Thompson. His breath caught his college roommate's last name, Eric Thompson. His best friend who died in a car accident 7 years ago. Eric, who once confessed in a shaky late-night phone call that he'd walked out on a pregnant girlfriend because he wasn't ready. Daniel's throat tightened. Could it be? He carried the toy straight to the information desk. "I found this," he told the attendant, trying to sound casual. "Can you make an announcement?" "The name on it is Ethan Thompson." The loudspeaker crackled. "Would Ethan Thompson or Guardian please come to the information desk?" Claire's head snapped up. She bolted toward the counter stroller, bumping over the tiles. Relief flooded her face when she saw the rabbit in Daniel's hand. "That's my son's," she gasped. "Thank you. You don't know how much this means." Daniel turned, and for a moment it felt like time slowed. She didn't recognize him, but he recognized her. The hazel eyes Eric once showed him in a photo. He managed a stiff smile, handing her the toy. "I'm glad I found it. Near gate D12. Claire's voice softened as she tucked Bun Bun back into Ethan's little arms. "You just saved our flight." She was already turning to leave, but Daniel blurted out, "Wait, your name. Is it Claire?" "Claire Thompson." She froze, suspicion flashing across her face. "How do you know that?" Daniel swallowed. "Because I knew Eric. Eric Thompson. He was my best friend." Her cheeks drained of color. For years, she'd told herself Ethan's father had abandoned them without a thought. And now a stranger was standing here claiming to know the man who vanished. The final boarding call boomed overhead. Claire shook her head. "I can't miss this flight. My new job starts Monday." Daniel's voice cracked. "Please, I'll explain on the plane. I'm on the same flight." She hesitated, torn between anger, confusion, and something else, recognition maybe in the grief on his face. Finally, she muttered, "Seat 14A. Don't make me regret this." On the plane, as engines roared and Ethan dozed, Claire sat stiff, arms crossed. Daniel slid into the seat beside her, tie loosened, voice low. "We were roommates at Northwestern. Eric told me about you. About the baby. He panicked, made the worst mistake of his life. But Claire, 6 months after Ethan was born, he called me. He said he was driving back to you, ready to make things right. That's when the accident happened." Her jaw clenched. "So you're saying he didn't just abandon us? He died trying to come back?" Daniel nodded, eyes raw. He wanted a second chance. He never made it. Claire's hands trembled as she clutched Bun Bun. All these years she'd built armor out of anger. Now that armor cracked, leaving only confusion. She whispered, "Why didn't anyone tell me I tried to find you?" Daniel admitted. "But you'd moved. His parents had cut ties with him. All I had was your first name." For the rest of the flight, silence stretched, broken only by Ethan stirring and offering Bun Bun to Daniel with a toddler's solemn generosity. Daniel smiled weakly, taking it like it was made of glass. When they landed, Claire expected never to see him again. But the next day, Daniel showed up, invited to her hotel with dinner in hand, nervous as a schoolboy. And slowly walls she thought were permanent began to lower. Then came the moment that flipped everything on its head. Daniel drove her and Ethan out to the countryside down a tree-lined road to a farmhouse with a red front door. This, he said quietly, was Eric's project. After he realized he'd made a mistake, he bought it. Spent weekends fixing it up for you and Ethan. Called it his redemption project. Inside was a nursery painted soft green filled with children's books, a crib, and on the wall a framed ultrasound picture Claire had given Eric long ago. Her knees buckled. He kept everything Daniel whispered, every note, every photo. He never stopped loving you. He never stopped loving Ethan. Claire broke down right there, years of bitterness collapsing into grief she hadn't let herself feel. Ethan toddled happily through the rooms as if he knew it had been built just for him. And then Daniel told her the truth legally. The house belonged to Ethan. Eric's will left it all to his son. Daniel had been trustee, keeping it safe. The weeks that followed blurred Claire starting her new job, Daniel helping with contractors, Ethan giggling as Daniel built a tree swing. A man who'd once been a stranger was slowly becoming family, but with that closeness came tension. One night on the porch, Claire looked Daniel in the eye. "Why are you really here? Guilt charity? Or something else?" He took a breath. "I made a promise at Eric's memorial. If I ever found you, I'd make things right. But Claire, it's not just that anymore. I care about Ethan. And I care about you." She stared at him, heart pounding. Part of her wanted to slam the door on anything that complicated. Part of her wanted to let him in. And that's where the story leaves us. A single mom who thought she was abandoned. A child who never knew his father. A best friend carrying guilt for years. And a farmhouse built for a family that never got the chance until maybe now. So I'll ask you, what do you think? Should Claire let Daniel stay in their lives, even step into the role Eric never could? Or is that crossing a line, rewriting history that belongs to someone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes life throws us second chances, but it's up to us whether we take them or not. And if you've ever seen someone judged too quickly, or lived through a moment where you had to decide whether to forgive, share your story below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because these are the stories we all need to hear. It started with something so small, you wouldn't think it could change a life. A toy, just a worn-out little blue rabbit dangling from a toddler's hand in the middle of a crowded airport. Claire Thompson, 29, single mom running on caffeine, and Hope had her eyes on the departure board when it slipped. She didn't even notice until she heard the soft thud, and by then, a man in polished shoes had already kicked it halfway across the terminal. "Excuse me, wait. That's my son's," Claire stammered, but the guy barely looked up. He muttered something about being late for a flight and brushed past her. Her heart sank. That rabbit Bun Bun wasn't just